Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are joining us from, and welcome to our Why Activate Anywhere webinar for our Cohort 2026 application cycle. I'm really excited about your interest in this fellowship program, both for those present here today and for those who will be listening to our recording after the fact. I'm really looking forward to any and all questions, both today and also through email, if need be. And so, a quick reminder of Zoom press practices before we dive in. Please again rename yourself with your name and organization. Please also keep yourself on mute while others are speaking, and feel free to use the chat anytime for any questions you may have. I'll kick things off here by introducing myself. So, my name is Sahar Shamsi, and I'm the Fellowship Manager for our Activate Anywhere community. We'll dive into our agenda today. I'll give you a quick overview of what we do here at Anywhere in our community, and then we'll have two of our wonderful current fellows share their experience of the fellowship program. And then we'll leave plenty of time at the end for any questions that you all have for us, especially about the experience of being part of our Activate Anywhere community. So let's dive in with a quick overview of Activate Anywhere. So the Anywhere team, let's talk about them. It consists of three members. Andreas Ochoa, who is the managing director of Activate Anywhere, me as the fellowship manager, as well as Daphne Morova, who is our fellowship associate. Please give us a wave, Daphne. Awesome. And so Andreas is unable to join us today because he's soaking in the newborn cuddles. He's on parental leave. And so instead, we're joined by some awesome folks from our Activate team. I'd like to introduce Jill Foos, who is the managing director of our Activate Berkeley community. Jill, please give us a wave, as well as Eva Kohler, who is the Senior Director of Fellowship Program Optimization. Also give us a wave, Eva. Thanks so much. All right, let's dive into what Activate is all about. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Activate, we exist to empower you all to bring your research to market. And so the primary way that we do that is through our 2-year entrepreneurial fellowship program here at Activate. And so our program is designed to center you in supporting you, providing the educational experience, the funding, the mentorship, and a strong, robust community across the nation to support you in building your company. And so when we say community, we really mean it. As you can see, this picture is from one of our annual retreats in June, which includes staff, current fellows, as well as our alumni fellows. Building a strong community around you is super important to us. And so, a little bit about the fellowship. We are really the premier program for those who want to transition into entrepreneurship and develop their technology through a company. And so, we exist to support our fellows as individuals. Our job is to support you in your transformation from scientist to entrepreneur, so then you can ensure your innovation has the impact that you're looking for. And for that reason, our funding is non dilutive. We don't charge any fees nor equity to participate in our program. And so, what we're really looking for is individuals who are looking to build things. And we lean primarily into those building hard tech across the country. Lastly, we're looking for scientists and engineers who are looking to do some good in terms of building something that's going to solve a big challenge or a big problem in our world, making the world a more sustainable or a more resilient place. And so, the way that our fellowship helps you is in four different ways. First, our fellows in the program have the opportunity to embed into a community. So you'll have a community of staff, supporters, and of course, a cohort of your other fellows that you'll be going through this experience with. Second, you'll be developing the entrepreneurial skill sets that you need to succeed through education that we provide. And third, you'll get the funding and support to iterate your technology and your work over those 2 years of the fellowship. Lastly, but certainly not the least, you'll get the support of the Activate network that provides you the opportunity to connect with the right people and the right partners to bring your technology to market. And so I'm going to flash a slide here quickly that shares a little bit detail on those buckets. And so what funding looks like for us is 100K a year of living stipend for those 2 years, as well as some funds for your company to do the R&D work for your technology. As for education, we have custom built and tailored educational modules specifically targeted for those of you who are making the pivot from being a scientist or engineer into an entrepreneur. And again, we aim to provide that community that I was talking about, which is founders, staff, advisors, mentors, to support you in your journey. It's also worth noting here that you do get a dedicated advisor over 2 years who is the managing director of your community. For example, today here we have Jill Foos, who is the managing director of Berkeley. And so she's a dedicated mentor for the Berkeley Community Fellows. And so now let's talk a little bit about our communities. So Activate provides this fellowship experience through 5 different communities. 4 of those are in person, which are Berkeley, Boston, New York, and Houston. And this Anywhere community is our 5th, which is primarily online, but does have an in-person slash hybrid component with quarterly in-person gatherings. And so fellows that apply and join in-person communities are expected to relocate or to be physically proximate to those cities. Of course, for Anywhere, our fellows are distributed across the country and primarily connect virtually. And so this unlocks the opportunity for us to provide this fellowship experience not only to fellows who are co-located in places like Berkeley or Boston, but also to scientists and founders distributed all across the country. So really the potential impact that we have to support talent and innovation across coming out of universities across the country has been one of the most exciting parts of this Activate Anywhere program. And those are some of the stories that you'll hear from our fellows today. So again, let's talk what's unique with our Anywhere experience compared to our in-person communities. First off, it's the flexibility. You don't need to relocate, and we don't expect you to. You can build your company from wherever you are, wherever it's best for you as a person or for your company, and we're here to support you in meeting you where you are. Second, the experience of your local community is actually quite national because you get to access a community of founders all across the country, as well as our network of mentors, advisors, and all our partners, even if you're not in one of those traditional innovation hubs. And lastly, noting that this is a hybrid community, if all the interactions that we had were virtual, that might be less effective, and we recognize that. So we try to bring our fellows together in person once per quarter to supplement this experience. And so this is actually the most unique aspect of the Anywhere community compared to other in-person communities within Activate. We bring our fellows together for 3-day in-person quarterly trips that happen once each quarter, and we primarily visit Activate locations, which are New York, Boston, Berkeley, and Houston. And so what we want to achieve during these trips is really our community building. We want to connect you with local fellows in those locations, as well as to your general Anywhere cohort. We do some company or lab tours of different fellows and alumni. And lastly, the most important part again is the peer learning and connection that you get with your cohort members on these trips. Okay, so that's a little bit about our community experience. But now I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about our timeline and our application. So for those who are interested in participating in our cohort 2026, the fellowship program itself begins on June 1st. And so applications are out now and are due October 28th by 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Please visit our website for all the information that you need to think about whether or not this fellowship is right for you and also to start your application. But let me dig into a little bit of what some of you are thinking is what can I even apply? Can I be accepted? So here are our eligibility requirements. We're really looking for scientists that are ready to go full time into their venture. Because the purpose of our fellowship is really for you to commit yourself fully to this entrepreneurial journey. Secondly, in terms of company stage, we're looking for earlier stage technologies that still have some technical risk. Third, if you've raised a certain amount, and our limit here is 2 million, then you are deemed ineligible. And so the real purpose of these restrictions is to highlight the fact that we want to really be able to provide this fellowship experience to those who are in most need of the funding, the support, and also the development. And so this kind of relates to my last slide here, which is the number one question we get at Activate Anywhere. Things like, I live in San Jose, can I apply to Activate Anywhere rather than Berkeley? And so we do have a physical restriction here, which is to be eligible for Anywhere, you have to be living within 70 miles from an existing Activate location. So if you live within one of those locations, please apply to those communities. The benefit and proximate opportunity for you to be physically located with those communities is important and part of the Activate experience. Relatedly, the other reason at that time that we wouldn't want you to join the Anywhere cohort if you live close to a community is that our intention with the community is that we want to support applicants that don't live in those areas around strong entrepreneurial support. We want to support those who don't have access to that and be able to provide that network through the Anywhere community experience. Of course, we do recognize that there are edge cases, and so please reach out at any time if you feel that you have more specific questions on whether or not your situation benefits from the Anywhere experience more than being in a local community. And so that concludes our quick intro. And now let's jump into the important part here. Let's chat with our two awesome fellows here with us today. Today, we're joined by the wonderful Activate Fellows Camilla from cohort 2024 and Luis, who is from our most recent cohort 2025. Thank you both in advance for taking the time to chat with all of us here today. And so we'll stop sharing our screen now so we can go around and hear from them. Let's start with you, Camilla. Could you give us a quick little introduction of yourself, where you're based, your company, and also I'd love to hear a bit about your experience applying to Activate. Why did you choose Activate and what you're experiencing as a fellow now?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sahar, and thank you everyone for being here. So my name is Camilla Ostategi. I'm co-founder and CEO of Manifest Technologies. We are based out of Boulder, Colorado. We spun out of the University of Colorado and are focused on volumetric manufacturing platforms to create high-value products in electronics, optics, and healthcare. Oh, let me see. Let's go to Luis and I'll put my AirPods on and then we'll try again.
No worries, Luis. Can
Yeah.
you hear?
Oh, yeah. Great seeing you here, Kevin. This is awesome. And thank you for the warm intro. So I am Luis Estevez. I am the CEO and founder of my company AIM. We are located in Dayton, Ohio. I believe we're the first fellow from Ohio. So like, ooh, it's kind of cool. My company focuses on water treatment. Essentially, we work on making a platform technology that's a tunable porous carbon sorbent that can remove contaminants from water, so you can tune it towards the contaminant of choice. Our beachhead market is a textile industry where we are focusing on dye removal. Oh yeah, and that. Oh, and then some my experiences with applying to Activate. I'm actually got in on my second attempt, so like I don't know if where people are in their journey here, but like that's okay. I love the concept. I love and going into it, I was like, this is the perfect thing for me. I totally want this. And getting into it, I was like, oh my God, I was totally off. Like it's actually 1,000 times better. So it's a great community of support. And not just financially, but just the network and everything Sahar said is 100% correct. So I will, and with that, I'll stop talking. It's probably enough. Let people's questions and get Cami going.
Okay, thank you, Luis. Can everybody hear me a little bit better? Okay, amazing. Technology does indeed work. So yeah, like I said, my name is Camilla Uskategi. I'm co-founder and CEO of Manifest Technologies. We are based out of Boulder, Colorado, and we are commercializing a volumetric manufacturing platform based on advanced 3D printing, focused on electronics, optics, and healthcare applications. I cannot tell you enough how excited I am to be part of Activate. And, we are in our second year of the fellowship. So this is our last year. And I'm going to emphasize how sad I am to be in the second year to really let you guys know how amazing being part of this community has been. So in terms of the application, because we're based out of Boulder, Colorado, we were not close to any of the sites, but we so badly wanted to be part of Activate that we still were like, we would go somewhere if it was necessary for us to be part of the fellowship. But luckily, we did get accepted into the Anywhere community. In terms of the application process, I was sitting in a panel similar to this one when I really felt a lot of conviction like this, we have to try our absolute best, because it was not only just hearing from the fellows themselves and understanding their particular experience, but seeing the, dynamic play out both with the fellowship managers, the managing directors, as well as the fellowship associates, and kind of seeing that community even just bubble up in the conversations was really heartwarming to me. And yeah, I think like Luis said, not only is the financial support really amazing, but I would say having the resource of the community itself is probably an even bigger resource than the financial. And, it's almost immeasurable and priceless to be able to have the community that we have. And yeah, Luis just started the fellowship this year, and I already feel like I could, reach out to him for anything that I need. And I hope he feels the same way about me. Sahar, please let me know if I missed anything.
No, that's great. Um, can you share why you chose this program, where you were in your journey, Cami, and why this was important?
Yeah, so we had just raised a pre-seed round the year before, and we really understood through that process that being in Boulder, Colorado did not give us full access to the startup ecosystems in the coast. And based off of some of the things we heard on the panels, we realized that we could be part of a community without having to relocate to San Francisco or New York, or where places where, the startup ecosystem is globally known. So that was probably the first thing that inspired us. We were like, we really need to create a community that is far beyond the Boulder and the Denver ecosystem. So that's probably the biggest reason. And I think the second one is that when I heard about startups at all, I think it's just such a big category. But the fact that Activate really focuses on scientists and engineers and folks that are bringing technology out of the lab, and the fact that it's really based on impact as well, is the other aspect that I was like, these are my people. How can I, join and be a part of it? So.
That's awesome. Lewis, I'll ask you the same question. Where were you in your founder journey when you found Activate, and what did it provide for you?
Yeah. So for me, I'm a solo founder, jumping into this after like a lot of you, after, like for the first time, and as a scientist, you're like trained to be a specific type of you know have a certain way about you. With you qualify everything very strongly, and everything has to be completely rigorous. And then you go into the loosey goosey entrepreneurial world where it's like a little different. And I knew that I knew I needed to know a lot more, which I was like, okay, that's probably a good way to be. And then my wife actually found Activate and passed it on. She's like, this seems too good to be true, and it seems like exactly what you need. And I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. Like this is perfect. So I went to these meetings and started asking questions. And one of the things I absolutely, and Cami said this, and it's 1,000% correct. Like the community is really the deal. Like that's really what sets this apart, and really make you can get funding, non-dilutive funding. You can, like, I mean, I'm not. It's nice. So that part is great. Um, you have tremendous mentorship, the learning. That's all great. But it's gonna sound hokey and made up, but it's absolutely true. It's really the community that makes this so special, and the way the talent they have in getting really good um, fellows uh, is amazing. Cammy's crew, 2025 welcomed us right in, and we felt like super at home. So thank you for that, Cammy, and thank you for like being, you know, such an awesome year to kind of like get us neophytes all settled. I'm super looking forward to like doing that, passing that along to whoever comes into our community as well. So, and I can't tell you how like quickly everybody just gelled and instantly felt together. And oh, thanks, Stephanie. and then we kind of it's one of these things. We went to the retreat, we had this great time, we interacted, like this is a great community. And then you're like, was it just like a weird like flash in the pan? And then we met again for the first quarterly, and it was like, it just picked up right away. So, and I've seen um the Boulder, Colorado folks get together like outside of Activate, and we've done that for like some Midwest people that we started kind of like doing that as well. And it's just the support you have for each other, and the sense of community that you have, where you can just lean on people and be like, I don't know anything about this, like how does this work? It's like, oh, I've done that, this is how it works. And you just instantly have this tremendous network of, you're in this unique position as a scientist who wants to be an entrepreneur, that you don't find, there's not a lot of those. And you're now in like just a giant concentrated section of those types. that are just stellar people that have been chosen uh, to perfectly, and then you get to lean on them, and you get to all lean on each other. It's fantastic. That's been I thought that was going to be a big part of it, and I was like, is it going to really happen in anywhere? Because we're not going to be like in the same place. And all my worries disappeared like immediately. I was like, oh, this is great. Like I love it. It's fantastic, and that's the strongest part of our community, I would say. And it's been it's only been a couple of months, and it feels like I was like I know everybody here for like decades. It's fantastic.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, both of you, for sharing. I feel like you both really captured the essence of our benefit of our Activate Fellowship here, especially at Activate Anywhere. And so I do want to turn it over to open it for some Q&A from you all in the audience. So what I would ask is please use the raise hand function on Zoom. I'll call on you and you're open to unmuting yourself and asking your question. I would really encourage questions that are primarily targeted towards our fellows, that are more about the fellowship experience versus only the application. We are happy to answer, of course, application questions, but we also have multiple other webinars and forums to ask those as well. So just noting that here before we begin. So our first question will be Ranga.
Hi,
Please go.
thank you. So my question is for other communities, they have, like if you're in Berkeley, you know what are the facilities or what's the ecosystem. So it's easy to spin a narrative around that. If you are in anywhere, I'm in Memphis, how do you write about the resources that are in your region, your city, to in an effective way? Any tips about how to effectively leverage the resources that are in wherever you are?
So we were really fortunate to have recently moved into our own space when we applied for Activate. So we talked about kind of the size of our office, the facilities that we had in our office. Mind you, we did not have a lot of equipment. It was just the equipment we needed. We use an optical approach for additive manufacturing. So we mentioned, the different optical equipment that we had. And then the other thing is that we did spin out of the University of Colorado Boulder, which was only 6 minutes away from our office. And through relationships with our professors and folks in our committees, we still were able to access some of those facilities. So just leaning on the facilities that you currently access or would be able to access if you had the resources, right? Like if you got $100,000, are there shared facilities in a university near you that you'd be able to use, whether it's microscopes, et cetera? So I think really leverage what is around you and what you currently have access to really show how that's going to allow you to do the work that is necessary. Or even if you have collaborations with people. So even if they're not located in your city, if you're collaborating with somebody else, if you're sending samples and getting them tested, I think just ensuring, you remind yourself that, you wouldn't have applied and gotten here without some of those facilities and resources, et cetera. So just making sure you make the case for why that's really important and how that can support your work.
Thank you.
Awesome answer. I'm gonna add very little to that because like you kind of knocked out of the park, like leaning on collaborators, leaning on colleagues. Like as you know, I don't know what place you are in your academic career, but I know when I started my startup, I was already a little bit past the PhD, and so I had folks that like I would send samples to and be like, "Oh, you're a professor here. That's great. I need this. Can you hook me up with some free samples, please? Like, because you're my friend." And so but then we also had collaborators. I came from the University of Dayton, and so I found the professor who, and this is the thing about academics, right? Because we were all that as previously as well. They just love the work, right? So I was like, okay, here's some really cool work that I would love to do it in the lab. Your lab seems perfectly set up for it. Like, can we work together? We keep, uh, we can keep the IP. You can do the papers. Like, there's ways to collaborate with folks to do that.
Since you are an academic, can I ask a quick follow-up?
Please.
I'm also an academic. I'm an associate professor here at the University of Memphis.
Oh, great.
So how do you write about facilities that you don't want to use too much of my own lab, then the IP never leaves the university. So how do you write it tactically that you will use facilities, but you won't let the IP go to the university?
I see. Yeah, you mean right, like in your application?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, probably is like a little out of my wheelhouse, but I can tell you what I did. Like we set up our own lab, so we kind of just um and that's why anywhere was like the only one that made sense to me, just not only because of our location, but we couldn't move anywhere else because we had too deep roots in having our own laboratory set up. But for the application, I don't know, maybe that's a Sahar question. But like I'm sure if you qualify it correctly and explain exactly, because I'm sure they get like all kinds of unique applications. So I'm sure it's going to be something where you just like you're not the first person to have a weird situation like
Sure.
we all did. So you can just kind of explain it in the application where they allow for the space, and I'm sure they'll be like, okay, got it. He's an associate professor who's doing this, and this is part of his lab, and this is where he plans to be soon, and he's looking at this lab space here. However you word it, I think that's one of the things I will say off the bat that Activate is great at is like incorporating the fact that you're in this unique position and they're very flexible as far as like, oh, this is my situation, blah blah. It's like, okay, got it, but because they're dealing with like all kinds of people like us that are just in really unique situations.
I'll also jump in here to ask Jill if she has any thoughts on that.
Yep. So I just want to say we are looking for folks that are all in at their company. So we are not looking for professors who are doing this as a side project. So I just want to put that out there. The other thing is that if you are using university resources, we are going to want to see that you have, the proper paperwork in place, that you have some understanding with your university about conflict of interest, how the IP is going to be handled, all of that sort of stuff.
Great. Thanks so much, Jill, and thanks for the question. I'll go to Nevin.
Hello. I have a question specifically to Luis, and at the same time, Camila can answer because you guys already been through the situations. And to Luis, could you share what you consider the strongest point in your second application? As you mentioned that you uh, get the fellowship in your second attempt, and what improvement you made from the first. I think basically it seems, and I would also be very inspiring. Like it would be really inspiring if you could tell us a bit about your journey from the first experience to ultimately being selected.
Okay, gotcha. I would say for the first part of the question, I probably and I've had little discussion with Andres a little bit about this too, and so I have it on good authority that I think how I adopted to the feedback I got on my first application is going to be huge, right? So I think Activator are looking for people who are, self-starters that have like, that are driven and but at the same time are very coachable, right? So because you're going to learn a lot going from academic to entrepreneur, and it will be lifelong. And so I think that was a big thing because the application, I got dinged on a couple of things. They're like, this needs to be this needs to be that. And then I took that and I was like, you know what? I'm going to address that. Like, that's really good feedback. So I went in and just like addressed those things. And when I had my second application, I specifically told them like, based on your feedback, I did X, Y, and Z. And they were like, oh, okay, that's cool. So I think that really helped. I'm trying to remember your second question. Second part.
It's basically the same. Uh, what I mean, you already answered
Oh,
the what was the improvement? Yeah.
you got you. Okay, cool. Cami, feel free to add more if you'd like.
Great. Do you have anything to add, Cami, before we? Okay, awesome. We'll jump to Olaf.
Yeah, hi. Nice event, by the way. I'm wondering, the localized Activate chapters, will likely have, all the participants in vicinity. There's sort of a central collaboration space. There's basically naturally a cohesive sort of interacting space with everybody. And I'm curious about the experience of Camilla and Luis about how interacting with the other Activate Anywhere community members, is realistically done, technically done. Is it a lot of online meetings? Are there sort of localized meeting points? How can I imagine sort of physically meeting other Activate members, Activate Anywhere members?
So as Sahar mentioned, we do meet quarterly with the Anywhere community. So that's one way. In addition, there are, I would say, like critical masses of people in different areas of the country. So there are a few of us in Boulder and the Denver area. And we've set up like a weekly lunch in Boulder, for example, for some of the Boulder folks. So it's a lot of interaction that happens ad hoc. We also, and then Tahar, you could probably go more into detail, but we do also meet as a community every 2 weeks on Thursdays where we do programming. This is very similar across Activate, but in our case, we do it virtually. And we do spend 30 minutes in the beginning just talking to each other. So it's like I would say like a community building half an hour where we get into small groups and just catch up, talk to each other. And because we're all in Slack together, I am constantly just talking to people on Slack and just like asking for advice here, or just being like, hey, I'm going to this conference in X place. Is anybody going to be there? So it does require you to kind of get yourself out of your shell and make sure you're interacting with people. But I will say the Anywhere community is extremely close, even though we only spend a few days together a quarter that are mandatory. We do try to get together in other ways if it's possible.
Yeah. Again, just reiterating, a lot of what Cami said is like 100% correct. Like I would say, just to add a little to it, the Slack channel that she mentioned is very bustly and always going. I don't know how familiar you are with Slack, but it's just a messaging app, and essentially it's broken up into channels and categories. So like my company does water treatment, so there's like a water tech community, like we talk a lot of water, geek out and water stuff, and then there's like fun, like a little bit more fun channels. There's a little bit more, and what Kevin says is right. Like you get little communities, you just start to kind of you know everybody, and everybody is awesome, but like you go into little niche communities as you start to like vibe with certain people, vibe with certain subjects, that kind of thing, and also and there's, in addition to everything Gabby said, like we see each other, we hang out, we have a great time. She gets together with her Boulder, Colorado contingency. We have our like Midwest kind of like hangout section. We're like a little more spread out, but we meet every once in a while, drive through cornfields and all kinds of things to get all kinds of places and hang out. And the social aspect is real. It's a big part of having people that you feel that have your back, and you feel like you have their back implicitly, is just, it's wonderful. And so that we use any means necessary to keep that going, and Slack is a big part of that, I would say.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks so much, both. Just echoing that, yes, our Slack space is actually active across all our communities. And so it's a great place to connect, not only with your own cohort at Anywhere, but across to other managing directors, other fellows, and alumni are also on that Slack space. So it's really a great kind of peer-to-peer connection platform that we use actively daily. Okay, moving on to the next questions. Harlan?
Yes, hi. Thank you very much, Luis and Camila. I'm learning a lot from you. I appreciate you coming on. I imagine, just like any other program, you get out of this, as much as you put in, you're going to get out. You're going to get out more, right? And so what I wanted to ask is, what's that balance between running your company and how much time you're committing to Activate, and how do you align those two here, and what to expect kind of on a weekly basis for the time commitment in a good way?
So I would say you're exactly right. It's about how much you put in. And for me, it's actually hard to quantify, because a lot of the time, if I am, just because we're so busy, right? Like we're running companies, if I am engaging in Slack in any way, or, engaging in the community, like during business hours, it's usually because I'm either supporting somebody and they asked a question that I have like a quick response to, or vice versa. So a lot of the time it's a little bit of like, that the next time you have a question around like, hey, I have this weird term in my term sheet, like, is this normal? Somebody's going to answer. So that is kind of like the ethos around it. And that's why it's hard to quantify. Like, I'm not, I initially had a similar concern. I have been part of other accelerators and other programs. And sometimes in other programs, it feels like you're having programming just to have it and just to kind of like check off the box. But I feel like with Activate, you're really getting something out of it, whether it's, just an ability to understand a new fundraising strategy, something around a technical concept that maybe you needed some support on that somebody else is an expert on. So I think it is really up to you and up to the capacity that you have. But generally, in terms of like mandated time, it really is every 2 weeks during that programming that we do as a community. And then any additional time is really for you to either spend supporting other people or spend receiving support from other people.
Yeah, once again, Cabby just knocked it out of the park. But I'll add a few things. Additionally, just that Activate is the programming is a time commitment, right? So, but I mean, that's part of what you sign on for. It's like a great time commitment because you get to learn how to improve as an entrepreneur and become, if your path is scientist to CEO, which is like the typical path, it's what you need to do to put in the work. So it's wonderful. There's a lot of, and there's a lot of, it can be, you are very busy with your company, but I tend to find my big problem with bandwidth and time is like, man, there's so many opportunities, there's so many different things that Activate provides that I trying to get to all of it. It can be tough, but that's a really good problem to have, right? You get to choose and pick what things you need to concentrate on to grow your journey. They almost give you so many opportunities and so many potential collisions and so many potential conferences to come up or people doing this or people asking about this, and you want to jump in on everything because it all looks amazing. But of course you have to, that's part of being, an entrepreneur, is like managing that bandwidth, right? And so but having all these opportunities is definitely fantastic. So I would say it's going to be on you to like manage a lot of that. But it's overwhelming. It's a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah, one more thing I forgot about the elements of entrepreneurship programming that happens during the first year of the fellowship. So Sahar or Jill or anybody, if you want to talk a little bit more about that or the flips that are available to participate in.
Sure. Yeah, I can talk about that. So Elements of Entrepreneurship is a 12-week sort of mini business course we do at the beginning of the fellowship. So your first year, and that's an hour and 15 minutes a week on Wednesdays. And then we have alumni panels on Thursdays, alternate Thursdays at the beginning. So you can kind of get to know our alumni, hear their perspective, all that sort of stuff. We have an amazing alumni network. The other things that take time are and that are mandatory are doing quarterly meetings. So these are 2-hour meetings every quarter. And these are sort of like mini board meetings, building you up to having formal board meetings, getting you to think about things on a quarterly basis. And so, yeah, those are sort of, and flips. We were talking about flips. Flips are, once Elements of Entrepreneurship is over, our national education team offers FLIPS, which stands for Founder Learning in Pods. And those are short courses that vary. They can be 5 weeks, they can be 12 weeks. They're usually like an hour a week, but they're on topics that you need right then. So it might be hiring, it might be fundraising, it might be preparing to fundraise, might be management 101, lots of different topics. And so the idea is that you learn these things when you need them and in a timely manner. And just like philosophically, we know you are building your company. And so we do try to keep the time requirements light because we want you to focus on building your company.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jill. In the interest of time, I'll aim to kind of move quickly because we have about 15 minutes and a bunch of questions. Our next question will be from Zach.
Awesome. Thanks. Hey, everybody. So I'm also really obviously excited about the program, and I kind of resonate with what Camilla said, that I'm open to even relocating for this program. Obviously, I'd prefer anywhere, but there's a lot of upsides to some of the location-based programs, but also real downsides that you have to be transplanted, potentially purchase lab space. You don't know the environment that well, and that entrepreneurial ecosystem. So my question is, do you guys know founders who are Activate Fellows who were kind of more anywhere location based, who relocated? And then how has that journey looked for them? Have they succeeded, had some of those kind of transplant troubles? Just kind of interested in hearing about that.
Jill, can I ask you to
Yeah.
share?
Maybe I should share. So yeah, we've had folks in the Berkeley community that listed anywhere as their first choice and ended up in Berkeley, and then they moved to the area, and in all of those cases, it's because there was something in the Bay Area that was really fit for their company. And it's worked out great. I mean, we do provide relocation, some relocation money for people to make that move. Yeah, it's generally been a positive thing. Yeah. But I would say when you're ranking your communities, which you can do in your application, just be really honest with yourself about only listing places that you would want to move.
Yeah, Sahar, can I add, mostly just to emphasize, so my name's Eva. I haven't spoken up yet, but I'm the director of program optimization, so work with all 5 communities, but previously worked specifically with the New York community. We also had a number of companies who moved to New York, and so one of our jobs as a young community was to build up our knowledge of local resources, service providers, lab spaces, et cetera, to try to provide guidance. So each of the local communities is an expert in their own space and ecosystem, and will help transplants get set up. And I just would echo what Jill said, though, is I think when you're thinking about what alternate communities you might want to put on, think about what cities would you personally want to live in or not live in, and also what cities are realistically a good match for your specific technology due to market, due to various other talent once you start building out your team. And we do take your secondary considerations seriously.
Awesome. Thank you, Jill and Eva. Moving to our next question, in the interest of time, Edgar.
Hi, Edgar from BOI. It's a question that is similar, but it's a little bit different because it seems that most applicants to Activate Anywhere already have established presence in a location or close ties to a university or regional entity. Do you also see applicants who choose the Anywhere community because they want to relocate to a specific place and take advantage of what that location has to offer, I don't know, like Pittsburgh? And as a quick follow-up, did Camilla and Luis did they select the Anywhere community as their first choice?
Jump really quick in. So this is my second application. So the first year I had Activate as my first choice, and I was born and raised in New York City. So I put New York as my second choice, figuring I can still live in New York. I have a network there, and I can kind of be 2 places at once. And I'm glad I didn't get it because I'm happy now. And then the second application I just put Anywhere, and I'm like, there's no I'm too embedded in my company here. There's no way I can't make it work somewhere else. So it was my first and only choice the second time. And I outlined exactly those things in my application.
It was also my first choice, but I don't have any familiarity with somebody wanting to relocate to a different location. So yeah, if any of the folks on staff want to comment on that.
I'm struggling to think of specific examples, but it's totally fine if you want to do that. Yeah.
We had a member of the New York community who relocated to Denver after having been a New York fellow, but if he'd figured that out before he applied, he might have applied to Anywhere instead. Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Thanks everyone for the answers. Moving along, we have who is next on our list? Jinzhou, if I'm saying your name correctly.
Yeah, it's correct. Thanks. So for the question, my question is about the lab-based rental and the ID handling. So yes, we already got agreement with our university, so we are ready to go. But the problem is now we don't have money to pay for that. So is it required to really pay the money and settle down everything before we apply for it, or just to make sure everything is ready to go, and once we have the funding, we can push everything forward?
Should I answer that? Yeah, so you don't have to have it all set up to apply. Yeah.
Okay, so we just need to prove that like we are ready to do everything. It's okay, right?
Sure.
Okay,
Yep.
thanks. Yeah.
Add really quickly to that, like in meeting other fellows, like everybody's in all kinds of different places in their development, from scientist to entrepreneur, like from like straight out of grad school or just graduating or whatever to like I have a company and I'm trying to like, get to pilot or get lots of customers, or that you get all kinds. So I think Activate focuses on the person and what they can do. And that's probably the overarching important thing. That's based on my opinion. They probably know better than me. But.
Okay, thanks. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much all for the answers. Next we'll move to Devang.
Hey, thank you, Sahar. Hi, my name is Devang. I am founder of Solar Intelligence. I studied physics, electronics, and computer science. And I have like bachelor's in computer science. Last 17 years, I was working as a software engineer. My startup Solar Intelligence, that's on the hardware side. And we are working on energy density, mainly generating more solar energy by using less land. And my startup has been recently selected by Cleantech Open Accelerator, and I am going through that program. My question is, I applied last time to Activate and I couldn't get in, and I'm going to apply again this time. So my question is, as I don't have PhD degree and I did my bachelor's in computer science and I'm working on hardware startup, does it impact my eligibility? And what are my chances to get into Activate because of my software background, but I'm working on the hardware side?
Jill or Eva, maybe?
I can try that one, Jill, and you want to chime in after?
Sure.
I will say, so one of the things we do have folks who are pursuing things later in their careers that are less directly related to their field of study. What I would say is what we'll be looking for in your application is your capacity to continue to innovate whatever your primary technology is. And so if it's not in your academic background, you might want to emphasize that in your personal statement a little bit more of like, here is like, demonstrated ability to continue to work on this hardware product. And that's just because we understand your business model, your tech are going to pivot over your time in Activate. And so what we're looking for is technological ability to continue to innovate, not necessarily your academic pedigree.
Got it. And just follow up, one more thing I want to add. So during my college time back in India, so I did my bachelor's in India, and I did a few innovations on solar and wind, though I was working on the software side, and I got few awards from Government of India. But after that, I continued my career in IT, but I had my interest in energy and IT. Now I'm bridging both these fields together. And that's where I just want to showcase like how I can best showcase my application, all these things so that I can get into Activate. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can't comment on anyone's individual chances, but we definitely do give you space in your application to write about your personal journey, what motivates you, and where you're bridging those together. So I think that is a great story to tell in your application of here's what I'm bringing from my initial work in solar and wind, and here's what I'm bringing with me from my other career in IT, and why these things work really well together.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah. Tell that story.
Sure. Thank you.
The last thing I'll add is generally, we do take into account lived experience. Like everyone's situation and process and path looks different, and we're okay to understand it through your application. So yeah, we just want to hear that from you, basically.
Yeah, and interestingly, I have gone through all the fellows on the website, and most of like 98% of them have like PhD degree, and I was like how to should I do PhD first and then should I apply to Activate?
No. Your work experience is very valuable. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, thank you for your time. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for the question, and thank you for the answers, Eva Jill. Asking Valeria.
Hello, thank you for the space. So my question is, I think it could be for Camila and Luis. I want to know, like, what I know that there is not a preference for the stage of the development, but I would love to know, for example, Camila that worked with volumetric additive manufacturing. What was the stage for your product at the time that you were applying? It was like already like done for the market, or before that, in what stage you were? Because I also work with additive manufacturing for medical devices. So I would like to know from that perspective what you can tell me about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. I will echo Luis's previous answer, which is a lot of there's so many people in Activate that are so many different stages of development for their technology. I think for us specifically, when we applied, we were at prototype, so we had already prototyped it, we had proved out that it worked, but we were not commercial by any means. We were still, identifying product market fit. We were still understanding how we needed to push our technology to meet market specific specifications around performance for the products that we were working on. So I don't think the requirement is that you need to be commercial. I think just being able to articulate where you are in your technology readiness level and what your roadmap looks like and how you think you will get to commercialization with the technology that you have. So I think the most important is just communicating both where it is today, where it's going, and how you foresee the Activate Fellowship supporting that roadmap.
Valeria, if you're speaking, you're muted.
Yeah, I almost have
Oh,
to add. That's
sorry.
perfect. Oh,
Can
no,
I?
Sorry.
Yeah, you were talking, sorry.
Oh, sorry, my bad. Sorry, I think my internet's got laggy. But I almost have nothing to add to that. Like that was perfect. I'll just say really briefly where I was at. I was kind of in between lab scale and trying to get to first pilot, and so and we had been on our third pivot, one of which was directly part of feedback from Activate and others. So it like there's all kinds of different stages. Like now we definitely feel like we're in the right direction and doing everything, but hope, but I would say in between lab scale and pilot, but yeah, you get people from all over.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks both, and thank you, Valeria, for the question. Our last question will be from Sivan before we tell you about some next steps and close out the webinar. Sivan?
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your perspectives. My question is about making that transition from a scientist to an entrepreneur. The biggest challenge that I've faced so far is understanding the accounting and tax aspects of forming a business. So I'm wondering if Activate provides some of that support, especially in the Anywhere community. Do they find local accountants that could support you, or is there a network there that you can pull from?
There is a list of service providers that Activate has gathered through alumni and folks that are in the fellowship currently, which you have access to. A lot of the time it is, person to person, just saying like, hey, everybody, I'm looking for an accountant. I'm looking for somebody to help me with this. People usually tag that service provider list. But if you're like, I want to get firsthand opinion of somebody who's worked with somebody and ask somebody specifically these particular questions, that's always an option. So Activate doesn't directly, tell you who to work with, but they provide resources both in the form of this list and also in the form of saying, hey, for example, I work with somebody who I really, really like. I'm more than happy to share that with you. If you want, I can type it into the chat or just DM you. Because I really like working with her and I think she's awesome and has solved a lot of our problems. So that's usually what I'll say if somebody was asking me that question. So it's a lot of that peer-to-peer advice and mentorship.
Yep, 100%.
Thank you.
That's totally how it is. If I was looking for an account, I would just reach out or somebody who did financial, aspects or a CFO or anything. You just throw it into Slack throw it into your network, throw it into the, because everybody's been exactly in the same place. That's what's beautiful about this program. Like everybody's in the same place. Everybody's trying to be an go from academia to entrepreneurship, and we're all kind of dealing with the same problems. Like I still use something I learned at Activate once, where it's like when you're talking to investors or other people about your technology, you shouldn't, like as a scientist, you want to qualify it like crazy and be like, well, it doesn't really work like here, and it doesn't work here, and this data is preliminary, and but like in the entrepreneurial world, it's like a whole different animal. Like, and so somebody said, one of the fellows, I can't remember who, but like said, it's like in my head, I say in the best case scenario, and then I say out loud what I feel. And I was like, oh, that's really great advice. So like you get gems and wonderful things like this all over from your colleagues that are going through the same exact thing. And I think that's what's super valuable about this program.
Okay, thank you. And I will take you up on that, Camilla.
Awesome.
I just sent you a chat. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for embodying our community already. Thank you again so much, Camilla, Luis, Eva, Jill, all of you for taking the time to answer questions, share your experiences, and really exemplifying what this fellowship experience is all about for us at Activate. Thank you also to our audience here. We will quickly put up this slide here. So there are several ways to stay engaged with us. Sign up to receive communications for our upcoming application cycle at activate.org/apply. For any questions, please email us at apply@activate.org. We're happy to continue to answer questions. Also, please continue to attend our events. We have several other webinars that will happen. Community-focused ones will deepen your knowledge about the Activate communities. And there's also ones focused on the application, helping you to prepare a compelling application. We also have office hours that answer individual questions, and you're also welcome to watch past webinars in our YouTube channel. We really look forward to seeing your applications come through in the next month or so. Please reach out if you have questions. Other than that, we'll conclude our webinar here. Thanks so much, everyone. Take care. Have a great day. Goodbye.